So actually, we started by just saying, asking you just a question that came in a lot was just, what did it feel like to, um, come to a concert hall to be recording and performing again after so many months, and then having a chance to watch it on stage?
I felt really rusty and very self-conscious, and I was saying, that all of the material is brand new. None of the some of the songs had been performed a little bit in the past, but they weren't fully worked out. I mean, it was very, very, everything we did was new. Night After Sidewalk, there's one older song, but basically this was just a new show, and one that I haven't been playing and touring regularly for the past, now it's like past been 6 months, 7 or 8, however however many thousands of years it's been. And so it was hard, and I kept the little voice inside my brain that hates me kept saying, you suck and you haven't prepared and you should have done more, and I kept thinking, oh God, I'm letting Aaron down, I'm letting Georgia Tech down, I'm letting myself down, and really, like, in reality, I was just doing a new thing for the first time. And when I watched it, I was like, oh, that was good, and I'll fix the tiny mistakes, but like on the whole, I think it was pretty okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, those of us who got to watch it happen, it was magical to watch the piece. We heard it performed, and then the video just is testament to that. Um, so another one of the major questions people had was, um, how much of this music that we heard did come out of the last few months, and it was the majority of this a product of the pandemic, and how do you think the pandemic impacted this album?
It's so hard to it's so hard to separate right now, right? So at this point, even my memory is shockingly strange. And what I'll say is that the bulk of the songs came from a show called Data Not Found, which you had mentioned, and that was a show that was completed in November. And so I was making an album called Modern Yesterdays, which you can go and listen to and buy if you want. And so the album was to be a companion piece for the show, really. And and it's interesting, again, I never would have done just that in the album had I thought it was a standalone. However, I think the album's really good. Similar to that kind of thinking, like when you're in the moment doing it and you're thinking, oh, there's so much self-consciousness around it. And once you kind of let go of that and listen to it and go, I did it, I made it, let's move on, it's fine. But a lot of the titles, Can't Touch This or That or You Or My Face, Sanitized Alone, Laura Lear is actually an anagram of one of the people that was working on the album that kind of had to flee to get to his home country. I mean, there was a lot going on, so it was more based on the titles. But we had a little album release Instagram live party with my producers last night, and we talked about it. And yeah, I mean, some of those songs were written at the studio so this was March 2nd to March 17th or so that we recorded the album. And that was when we didn't know to then we knew everything, and we were in lockdown. And that's the time period where everything was put on tape. So yeah, it was definitely a pandemic inspired in its own way. But we thought we'd be, it was so horrible, we were getting shut down for 2 weeks, Like, do you remember when that was the bad thing?
Oh yeah, we were so we were optimistic.
Devastating. 2 weeks.
Well, and that's why this project came about to stream this, is because you were supposed to be here in Atlanta, and we are appreciative that you made your way here.
Oh man, I'm so glad. I was telling all my friends, like, it was so nice to be on stage, so nice to hear that guitar sound really loud. And all I wanted to do after was go to a hotel and just use all the tiny little shampoos and stuff. Like, I just was, I was like, I'm back on the road, baby.
For a day. So I don't want to dwell on the shutdown in 2020, but another really popular question was, some folks, Logan Churchill actually sent a question ahead of time about how during the shutdown they're feeling less motivated to play and to practice and to write.
Yeah.
Asking, do you go through phases where you don't feel connected to the guitar, and how do you handle your creative energy in those moments?
I don't know. I'm in it too. There's so much of what you do as a player and a professional player or even not. It's very goal oriented. You know, it's towards a gig, towards a jam, towards your, you know, and the fact that we have so few of these things now, it is throwing a very big wrench into the why of it. And I think some people have found an immense purpose in the pandemic, and I have not. I mean, I won't say that. I have not in my guitar playing career. I am still very much at sea as to what I'm doing as a guitarist. Not so much as a, you know, I know what I'm doing as a parent and as a family member and as a friend and all those things. But it does continue to plague me, and I'm going to be perfectly honest. I wish it weren't that way. I wish I had. I feel like I'm at like a lower spiritual, like I'm like spiritually working class with this sort of like, I don't know, but I don't. And I still play guitar though. That's the one thing that's weird. I don't play it in the same with the same sort of like rush or push or any of that, but I still play almost on a daily basis, and I have since, you know, and I always have. So I think that's the one thing that has stayed the same. But the drive to become better and grander and loftier than I, you know, to have my reach extend beyond my grasp is not here, and hopefully it will come back one day.
Yeah. So this kind of ties to another question we had that I thought was absolutely fascinating from Vicky, who asked, you know, when you perform, where does your consciousness live? As in, do you become your instrument, or are you an observer of your performance? And I thought, especially given the just sort of the meta watching of yourself perform just now we had. It's Saturday night. We got to talk about deep thoughts here.
Live from New York. I really did. That was the setup for a good joke. Okay. What now? It's a good question. It's just a hard one because it's personal. I think I was drawn to the meticulousness of guitar playing, and so guitar playing is one of my sort of physical and emotional loves, and the other is gardening. I've always grown stuff, and so I and the commonality between the two things is that for me I like them both, but that's the intersection of where something gets shut down, like there's a voice that gets calmed, there's an energy that there's a place that the thoughts don't really exist anymore. And I think because you're spending so much I'm spending so much mental and physical energy on these, you know, on this muscle memory, on these things that I've written, but also consciously trying to make them better, maybe change a thing or two. Same with that kind of meticulousness of like putting things in the earth, making sure they're taken care of, weeding, gardening, all these little details, as well as sort of bigger picture things. And it all just makes everything come into sharp focus or not. It just sort of makes things like, okay, I'll be playing guitar and occasionally a thought will knock loose and I'll like, oh, that's the solution to that problem. And I think that's kind of where my consciousness is when I'm playing and performing. I'm not oblivious though, and I am present, and I do know that the audience is there, and I am there to please. I am an entertainer. I am a professional. I'm not there for my own desire, and but it's a complicated mix of the two, to be honest, because sometimes I'm there to like do the crazy song and make everyone just go wild, and sometimes I'm there to like, you know, give my soul some nourishment, and I have to, you know, figure out where we meet.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, one of the amazing aspects of a performance with you is that it's never the same twice. But I'm curious, you know, as you score a show or an album, and does that mixture or does that alchemy change the more familiar you become with a work?
It's interesting. It does, and it usually happens in this form where a song or piece, you should say, it can go between, you know, exactly what's on the record to wildly improvised and different, and then it starts to kind of ease its way into this, you know, like settled spot. And then once I realize I've been playing a song, and you know, I'm guilty of not doing this, but I try. I'd like to think that once I'm really sort of in a spot where the song is the same every night, then that's when, it's like it's not going to get any better. So that's a process of refinement. But when I really think there's just nothing to add or to take away, then it starts to change again. And but sometimes that's not the best move. Sometimes you just need to play it the way you wrote it because it was good. And and again, it's like it's like, you go to see a band and they finally play your favorite song and it's like, why are they fucking this up? And and so I can't be so like up my own butt enough that I like forget people are there to paid good money to hear me play the damn song I wrote. So it's all this convoluted balance.
Yeah. So this is a change of gear, but another question we got from Eric Cowell, who submitted this ahead of time, and it was great. So you are stuck on a deserted island with one other fingerstyle guitarist. Who is the best choice to help you? So I'll modify that a little bit and just sort of ask, you're stuck on an island with another artist of one type or another. Who helps you survive?
Well, you know what? This is all about new beginnings. I just did a thing for the first time, and I would love to plug her. There's a player named Yasmin Williams. She's based in DC area. She's amazing. She's great. She's young. She's doing an old thing incredibly well and a new thing incredibly well with her playing. She's amazing. And she and I were invited we did another performance. And again, we should say all these performances have been totally safe, socially distanced. I was wearing a mask up to the point where I was being videotaped and everyone else was. And so just in case there's any questions about that. But Yasmin and I were invited to perform a song together. And usually in the sort of guitar festival style of, let's throw all these guitar players on stage and it'll be amazing. It'll be like 5 times the guitar and it's a nightmare. And it really has always been a living hell for me. And I said, well, why don't we just play in unison? Like, why don't I just take the time and learn your song and we'll play it together and it'll just sound like, guitars in chorus together. And we did, and it was so nice. And it's something I think we are going to do a little bit more of. And so, yeah, at this point, I would love to be alone on a deserted island. I would, and I think, she's very calm and chill, and she knows to not talk too much. And I think she's okay with a little quiet. So she would be amazing. So if you haven't heard of her, Yasmin Williams, she's awesome. She's incredible. I think she and I, again, we have a place where we totally intersect musically, places where we have nothing to do with what we're, with one another's sort of style. And so, yeah, if you haven't heard her, check her out.
I love it. I love recommendations. You mentioned, playing with it and harmony. So we had a question came in during the chat, which was George noticed on subsequent albums you are singing less and less. Is there a reason for this? Love when you harmonize with your acoustic. We had some questions submitted ahead of time as well, praising your vocals and wanting to hear, to know about your thoughts of more vocals in the future.
I didn't sing on my first 2 albums at all, or like one song. And then I sang on the subsequent 3 records. So 3 records went by where I sang about half of the time. And by the 3rd one, I had pretty much decided, I pretty much knew that this was not where my talent lay, whatever. And I sort of needed to return to really just returning to the acoustic guitar in a way that was fresh. That was around 2012 that I made the record Glow, which was an instrumental record again. And I think that it's just, learning like what my strengths are, and not just what my strengths are, but what I like and what's not cringy, because I've written some lovely songs that I've sung and the lyrics are okay, but the act of it for me has been challenging and cringy and embarrassing. And I think that, yes, on the one hand, I need to get over it and work through whatever that is. On the other hand, I've also written some really, really amazing guitar songs that don't need anything else. And in a way, maybe this is just sort of a little bit of a basic answer, but like, there's a lot of incredible singer-songwriters, and I'd rather not compete. I just want to be over here in my corner doing my own wacky thing and not have to go up against the women who can sing and write and play like really, really well and look super good, and they're really good at social media, and their hair's awesome, and they DJ. Like, fuck that. I can't. I'm just gonna be like, I'm a guitar player. I'm gonna play guitar.
But I mean,
expect the acapella record dropping soon.
Okay. Well, but I mean, but you are so much more than a guitar player. I mean, just the, you know, getting to watch your work last weekend, and especially thinking about the visuals and the, you know, the video projection, and you know, how central that is to the experience, and the level of detail and commitment you have to those visual components. I guess, can you just talk a little bit about, you know, how you see your aesthetic being this blend of the visual and the guitar?
In a way, the putting yourself up on stage and playing, you are a visual element. So that we started there, and then I didn't see very well until my late 20s, and I just had poor vision, and I had LASIK surgery, and it really opened my. I was great. I could see the contrast was really intense all of a sudden, and looking at things was really interesting. And I'd always just been like, I don't know, I wear glasses, I wear contacts. It never occurred to me to look at things. So that happened, and I think that at me developing as it's tricky because I'm not exactly a visual artist. I still want to tell a story, and I'm using the guitar as this a place to watch the film where the soundtrack is being created by the instrument itself. I mean, I think it's still unbelievably untapped. I think there's so much for me to explore there. First it was just kind of seeing if it was possible, doing it, getting a show together that was cool enough, touring. But that, I toured the Neck, which was the first production mapping show for like 6 years. So, I think that and of course with Data Not Found is a highly visual show. One of the challenges too is when you are inside of your own visual show, you can't see it. So I rely on amazing collaborators, like Max Bernstein, like Attilio Rigatti, whose work you saw tonight, to help me, because I that is where I really can't just go it alone, because literally I can't see myself. I can put up a mirror, but that's the best I can do. But I still feel that the commitment is how the guitar is going to be expressive. I can put up a projection, sure, anyone can, but how can I really make what is seen on the guitar important? And again, even with video, those were the top-notch video guys you could have possibly gotten to do mixed bag media. They were amazing. It's still really hard to capture on camera. It's the detail on the guitar. It's very different when you're doing it live. So these are all of these things I want to explore, and I'm hopeful for this show, Modern Yesterdays, to be a little bit more nimble, so that content can be made the day before. We can change things, we can switch things out, and continue to revise and improve.
Yeah. Well, and there are lots of more requests than I can list for you to visit various places around the country and around the world. So we will
put me on a plane. I am ready to go. Get me out of here. I got antibodies. I'll suit up. I'll do whatever you want. Like, just, I'll pay me in a sandwich. I will be there.
Well, I don't want to take up too much of your Saturday night, but again, this was such a incredible experience to, for us personally to get to see the show, and then to be able to share it with the entire world. We're so appreciative of your generosity to let us have.
Man. Likewise, Aaron, you have been so amazing, and thank you. And really, just the experience alone, just being able to put something together and have something to do, it lifted my spirits immensely. And I can't thank everyone at Georgia Tech enough. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Thank you to Attilio, who also made a lot of magic happen on the screen. Thank you to Mixed Bag Media, who supported us, and thanks to all of the Georgia Tech art staff who we put on a show again, which was a lot of fun. So, do you want to do all the Modern Yesterdays is available now?
Yeah, so Modern Yesterdays is the new album that came out yesterday. It is available now on all the streaming platforms. Vinyl is available through my web store in my website, kakiking.com. You can also buy the digital version off of all of the non-streaming platforms, and I hope that you do. It's not easy to make any money these days as a musician, so thank you for that. But it's a good album. We, having gone back and listened and gone, okay, yeah, no, that was, we made it. We did it we did it in a really, really weird time, and we tried to be safe, and we all ended up giving each other COVID anyway. So there you go.
Well, and we will see you back here in February if all goes.
I cannot wait. I'm thrilled.
Many days here. We can't wait. So thank you to everybody for joining us. Thank you again to Khaki and
Thanks,
everyone.
everyone.
Have a good night and stay safe.
All right.